This episode is brought to you by my one and only food and mood journal. This is an 8-week food and mood journal and planner for beginners where you can track how food affects your mood, your hunger, and your energy levels. Are you sick and tired of promising yourself to stop binge eating? Do you feel out of control with food and you just don't know why you overeat? You might have intense cravings leading to self-sabotage. My food and mood journal is the perfect tool to help you tune into your signals that your body sends you. And by tracking what you eat and drink will help you give insight on how food affects your moods. This is an 8-week kickstart to mindful eating to help you identify the triggers that make you want to eat when you're not physically hungry. So this includes a food tracker, a mood and stress tracker, because we know that stress eating can also lead to overeating. We also have an 8-week goals tracker with journal prompts and affirmations. You'll also track things like your water intake and exercise. It makes a beautiful gift for anyone who feels out of control with food. It's an easy to use journal and it will give you just the insights to help you get on the path to stop binge eating, emotional eating, or any other form of overeating. So get your food and mood journal today by clicking the link in the show notes. Thank you. Welcome to Beyond Overeating by Wholesome Lifestyle Project, the Overeating podcast, where I'll be showing up weekly to share with you what I've learned during my binge eating recovery, helpful tools such as yoga, mindfulness, and energy medicine. My name is Stell, and my purpose is to inform and educate so that you can fast track your recovery in healing your relationship with food and finally trust yourself around the peanut butter jar. Join me as I share top tips, my struggles and triumphs to help inspire or just entertain. Remember, there's nothing wrong with you if you can't stop overeating. That's why I'm here to guide you along the way. Today, I wanted to talk about what a recovery journey can look like. You might be wondering, well, where does this journey start? Where does it end? Does it start with awareness? Does it start with information? And, all that is really, really important. And if you have been part of this podcast journey, hopefully there has been ways for you to start healing. But, sometimes this journey can be confusing. And I just wanted to let you know, my love, that you are exactly in the right place. If you are listening to this podcast, you are opening yourself up and you are ready to hear the messages, and be open to the idea of healing. And that is actually such a powerful space to be in. Let me tell you, my love, just the fact that you are part of a conversation, maybe you tuning in every single week, it shows that there is a part of you, a small part of you, that's on the right track of this journey. And I have shared about the 5 different kind of mindsets of those who are seeking help when it comes to recovery journey. And I think I will post the link to that episode just in the comments or of the show so that you can go and listen to that, because I think that's a great way for you to just kind of measure where you're at on your journey and to see whether you are ready to take the next step, whether that next step is, making a phone call, talking to a friend, or researching on how you're going to move forward in your recovery. By all means, I am here if you wanted to ask questions or wanted to know where you can find resources. You're welcome to reach out to me. If you wanted to work with me, that is also an option. I am more than willing to give you all the information that you would need to make a decision whether you want to go on a journey with me, and exploring how you can actually open up and make that leap. So let's talk about what a recovery journey looks like with me. And, I previously called this the food freedom journey, or the food freedom program. And currently things are evolving. I'm not ready to share about what I've got going on yet, but it is kind of just, I'm brewing something amazing. So keep listening to find out more about where we are going on this journey. However, I wanted to talk just about coaching and maybe some of the traditional forms of therapy and counseling, so that you kind of just have an idea and make a decision for yourself what would suit you. Even with the modalities that I use in my practice, some of my clients are more thinking and analytical, so they want to do more cognitive work, so I intuitively do that with them. Or some of them are more emotional and they want to process things emotionally and talk about emotions, so we do a lot more emotional processing things. Either way, we are still getting to a space where you are dealing with your emotions and you are finding better ways to deal with what's going on, and replace your eating behaviors with a positive new way of being. So the Food Freedom Program currently runs for 16 weeks. And this is a beautiful journey. Sometimes I feel it's, like I've mentioned before in another episode, it feels like a long time when we start the journey. And then by week 4, it's like, gosh, this time has gone so quickly. So much has happened, even though we take really tiny steps to move forward. And you might ask, well, why 16 weeks? Why not? There's a lot of programs out there that's maybe 12. There's programs out there that's 8 weeks. I do have an 8-week group program. But 16 weeks I have found is the optimal time for us to really reform the habits, and then still have time to regroup, reframe, and really practice what you've learned. So it normally takes about 90 days to form a habit. But then usually people go into the world with a 90-day program and they haven't had the time to really practice and troubleshoot and see if they fall off. They don't have that support anymore. Hence the fact that my program is 16 weeks. But let's quickly talk about the difference between counseling and psychology versus hiring a coach like me. All right. And I wanted to just also say that my coaching style is very different to others. So let's start with psychology. So talk therapy, whether it's counseling or psychology, they usually take you through a process of understanding the past and healing the traumas that go with that. And this is really beneficial. I found that therapy was helpful for me through my grief processing. Counseling and therapy is something that can be super valuable. Usually the sessions are not defined. It depends on your healing. But every week you will go there and you will kind of work with what's just showing up for you in the current mind frame that you are in. Okay, so usually it just talks about what happens. There might be certain things that you might implement through that process, but it's really more about just understanding where you're at from that perspective. Now, a lot of psychologists would go into what I've been trained in as well, cognitive behavioral therapy. And here's where we use psychoeducation which is pretty much just theory on why we do certain things in the healing path. And then we also look at ways to rewire your thoughts, which trigger your emotions, which then triggers the behaviors around food or your body, all these behaviors that you want to break through from. So that's basically it from a counseling and psychologist perspective. Usually when you go see a dietitian, on the other hand, you will be handed an eating plan and ways for you to just kind of adhere to that eating plan and so forth. Now, the eating plan management is really important for clients who have been struggling with anorexia, refeeding programs. That is super, super important to have that kind of support. And I definitely work with, if my clients are going through that, I actually work with their dietitian or their psychologist to kind of just support their programs from that perspective. However, you might not have been diagnosed with anything serious, but you're worried about your eating patterns. You've realized that it is that it's disordered and you're wanting to get help. This is where you can reach out to me and get yourself into the Food Freedom Program. And what that looks like is a 16-week step-by-step guide where we rewire the way you believe your beliefs around food. We rewire the way you eat. We rewire, and understand how food helps and affects you and how it makes you feel. There's an effect of food is energy, and that's when we eat food, there's a certain things that we monitor through the program that helps you understand your body, understand your cravings, understand your moods. And we start analyzing and looking at that very particularly. So usually in a coaching relationship, you have the coach. They may or may not have a planned step-by-step program. But usually what happens is you'll have a set amount of time with some goals to work towards. And that is where the coach will kind of help you to achieve and attain those goals through accountability and support. Now, my background is obviously I'm not just a coach. I am a coach, but also a yoga teacher, energy healer. I also lend and lean on the modalities I've studied in cognitive behavioral therapy, EFT tapping, embodiment for eating disorders. And I have put together a step-by-step roadmap from day one. You are on a journey through experiencing things through your body, through your mind, through your energy centers. We kind of move step by step. You get a little tool every single week to work on, and it kind of just builds on itself incrementally and slowly. And the reason why I do things slowly is because if I just give you everything at once, unfortunately, you will get overwhelmed, and or the brain gets overwhelmed, and then it goes into overwhelm and overdrive. So we don't want that, especially when it comes to reprogramming the brain, when it comes to something as important as your relationship with food. So a lot of my sessions are, they're supportive. We troubleshoot what you have struggled with in the week before, and then we actually move on to a new tool or a technique that you can apply into your life that will support you either emotionally or support you with your relationship with food. A lot of the work I do is to go into the root cause, but we don't stay there. I work on just maybe understanding where a certain belief has come from. And once we understand that belief, where it's come from, we can start rewiring the thoughts, the emotions, that drive your behaviors. And the reason why that's important is because we want to get to the root of most things, and mostly it's your beliefs about and the stories you've created about yourself that drive certain behaviors. So my client, Corinne, for example, we uncovered through one of our sessions together that she had this 5-year-long lunchtime binge habit. And we discovered through just one of the techniques I've gone through, we've discovered that her afternoon binges was a real emotional comfort blanket for her. And as a teenager, she turned to food in the afternoons because she didn't feel appreciated at school. She didn't feel appreciated at home. She kind of felt like food was the only thing that really appreciated her. So she had this real appreciation connection to food. And as she started moving into adulthood, when she started settling into her career, she again had this relationship with her colleagues and her boss where she felt like she wasn't quite appreciated. And for 5 years, she would every day get in her car and drive to the shops, get binge food, eat it on the way home, and then go back to the office and feel better. So she felt like food was the only thing she had, and no one could take that from her. So now that is a massive belief. If you believe that food is the only thing that's there for you, and you go and try and then diet or relieve your binge eating and take the food away, that's a really massive contrast between your belief that's driving the binge eating and you actually wanting to solve the binge eating in the first place. Okay, so that is just an example from that perspective. So through the work I did with Corinne, we were able to reprogram her brain. She kind of just said that she felt that every time she sat with me, she felt like she was able to improve her relationship with food and herself. And she was able to conquer the world and all the food in it. And she now has a toolkit of dealing with her eating habits and also to deal with her emotions in a positive way. So from her perspective, you know, we had to get to that root, and it's important for us to get there, right? And from there, my coaching is really then seeing how we can support you emotionally to reframe that belief and to rebuild habits around a new belief that will support you, right? So that is maybe just one belief about one thing, but we might have many issues, many driving factors that lead us back to binge eating. So it's really kind of like one of my clients, Cindy, said, like this unlayering of an onion. You know, you come in every week and we start talking about things, and the next minute we find a new trigger, or we find a new way that food has been a support for you, and we kind of work through that so that you can actually move on and continue. So yeah, coaching sessions with me look different every week. So you might, sometimes we do a guided meditation, sometimes we do inner child healing work, sometimes we do cognitive behavioral therapy exercises, we do EFT tapping sometimes. We do somatic healing where we embody and work into the emotional things. We do woundology. So there's a whole bunch of techniques and tools that we work on. You get a library of all these tools so that you can actually practice these even after you've completed your journey with me. So most people, actually everyone who I have worked with, have had just such a transformation when it comes to their relationship with food, their relationship with their emotions, and you know, understanding that brain food relationship. You know, So my friend, or my, I want to say friend, because Kim and most of my clients, once we are just so connected to one another, we actually just become friends, really. So with Kim, she approached me because she no longer wanted food to be an emotion, a reward, or punishment. And she wanted to stop wasting time and energy worrying about what she looked like and thinking about food all the time. She was constantly in yo-yo habits, balancing between either healthy eating or binge eating. And she felt like she was just not in alignment with her life and who she was. And she just wanted that to stop. And we worked through many of those layers of the onion with her, but she realized that she really had a deprivation mindset when it came to potato chips, for example. She tried to avoid them because she just felt she couldn't trust herself with the chips. And we really started understanding through one of the sessions her relationship to the craving she has to those potato chips, and how it was really driven by some childhood anxieties. But once we were able to manage that specific trigger, 2 weeks later, she's like, "Oh well, I hardly even had cravings this week for chips, let alone actually anything." And even when she had chips, she didn't feel the need to eat the whole bag. She was okay with just eating some, and that was all. So she started realizing that when she gave herself permission to eat, then she started eating less. And one of the things she really struggled was with overeating carbs. And through this process, she actually realized that the more permission she gave herself through this process and what she's learned, she was able to eat less carbs. All right. She said that she no longer thinks about food. And it's just amazing what can happen if you don't think about food or your body anymore. So that is just a little general highlights. A lot of you have asked what it's like working with me. Hopefully that gives you some form of idea. If you still wanted to catch the Conquer Your Cravings Masterclass, I'll pop the link for the replay in the comments below. And if you would like a copy of the Reclaim Your Inner Goddess book, where we go deep into healing your relationship with your body, I'd love for you to order your copy, and I will paste the link for that in the comments below as well. Thank you everyone for tuning in today and for just going on this journey with me, understanding a little bit more about how I can help you through this process. And I can't wait to see you in next week's episode of the Beyond Overeating podcast by Wholesome Lifestyle Project. Send me a message, share this episode with anyone who needs it. And I can't wait to see you next week. Much love. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget to share this with all your friends. You can do this by adding this to your Instagram story and tagging me at Wholesome Lifestyle Project, or by simply telling them about it. If you could rate and review on whatever platform you are listening, this will go a long way in helping me get this podcast out there so that I can share my message and help as many women out there struggling with food issues as I can. Don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram at Wholesome Lifestyle Project, or connect with me on LinkedIn. My name's Coombe-Heath, and that's where you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.